Problem with the 1-3-1 is that you need to have an advantage if you're blue side. You need to have an advantage to initiate it. It's inherently weaker. It's more difficult to pull off. And Jace is going to be able to match Kennen no matter what. So it's not really going to be a 1-3-1. Because Jace is going to have superiority in bottom. So, I mean, there's already a lot of problems with the team compositions. I think that the Kennen is a bizarre pick after they had already selected Zyra. Because that tunnels you into one or two styles of play, both of which are not very effective. The 1-3-1 doesn't make any sense on blue side, because, again, it requires you to get ahead. Ryze can certainly get ahead, but when you have an Ezreal and when you have an Olaf... Well, Olaf with Ryze against Lee Sin Victor, it's not going to be that great until Olaf is level 6, because nothing's really going to happen. Victor taking Cleanse is pretty good. Otherwise, stuff could happen if Victor's out of position. But, again, generally, Olaf's going to need to be level 6. Up in the top lane, a blue side Kennen versus a red side Jace can get pretty brutal if Jace has a proactive jungler. So, like, Lee Sin, Elise, Kha'Zix, who else? Lee Sin, Elise, Kha'Zix, not really Evelyn, and Evelyn really wouldn't even be picked. Not really Graves, because even though he is proactive, it's not in the sense that he really wants to do, like, tower dives and stuff. Rek'Sai, red side Rek'Sai isn't so bad in that scenario, so whatever. So stuff can get a little bit difficult. Also, blue side Kennen Olaf is going to be a little bit more difficult to pull off anything against a red side Lee Sin, given how the vision control is likely to play out. So there's just a lot of issues with Cloud9's team composition, and I'm not saying that SK Telecom's team comp is necessarily perfect, but they have a lot more gears, and this is something that the Korean comps in week 2 were getting a lot better at, is they had a lot of gear flex in terms of like what they could do and what sort of things that they could go into or flex depending on game flow. Whereas generally the Western teams, their team compositions were very one-dimensional. And even though Cloud9 has the ability to just go full-on aggression if they get a lead, that's very unlikely. So there is that. Also, it's a blue Ryze, which against a red Victor is going to mean more vulnerability. Slightly. Fuck. I'm trying to put this in full screen. Interesting. It's gonna flash. Yeah. Okay. So that's not so bad. That's good for Cloud9. Now Olaf can just go into farming mode. In fact, I don't even think he needs to recall here. He can just keep going. Yeah. But don't recall. What are you doing? What? Okay. That pathing's a little bit more safe. They get the handoff on blue. What? Okay. That ward on Wraiths is pretty important against Lee Sin. Now they know exactly where he is, so this is all fine. There's a lot of stuff that's going on the map right now. For instance, Ryze already has his tier, so he's set to stay in lane. Victor's at 29 CS, so Victor is still ways away from getting his recall into Hex Core, but obviously the blue buff's going to enable him to sustain and get that for sure. Lee Sin getting spotted out right here doesn't really matter, because Duke's going to be needing to recall in the next minute and a half or so, and Impact's going to recall as well, and then at that point, Lee Sin doesn't really want to do any sort of proactive ganks up there on the top lane, because Duke needs to manipulate the lane in order for gank to be favorable, but at that point, it's not really going to be favorable anyway, because Impact's going to be sick, so at this point, the Lee Sin has all but lost his aggressive factor, and now all that Lee Sin is he's going to be a superior ward bot and superior mobility for doing any sort of match ganks or counter ganks until Lee Sin 6, which we're even further away from. So even though Lee Sin gets spotted out and they know exactly where he's going to be, as long as Blank plays accordingly, it doesn't matter so much. Ward by Impact's a little bit strange. Blank comes in, checks on Wraiths, sees no Wraiths. This is good by Cloud9. They get Wolf. Okay, Sneaky almost dies. It's a little bit hard. They can't 100% read that Meteos is going to be bottom. Oh. They can't read 100% that he'll be bot because of the intel that they received elsewhere on the map. So this is all fine. I am very impressed, though, that Snaky is down so much in CS. And he doesn't go for Cull. Maybe he didn't have the gold. Yeah, these are the type of ganks that I said that you can't do. So I said you can't really do these sort of ganks without a Glaciered Wave. And even if you do have a Glaciered Wave, Blank needs to be 6 because Kennen has ultimate. So it doesn't even make any sense for, like, why are they trying to go for it? There is a lot more incentive for SK Telecom's team composition to just acknowledge that Lee Sin is now in a defensive style, and all that he has to do is basically match things. Because even though there's an Ezreal and a Ryze, Olaf has anti-scaling, and then Kennen, he's going to have a superior wake-up, but that will be slightly slowed down due to the double Doran's Blade, which basically has no effectiveness. And the first dragon's a Cloud Drake, so that doesn't actually do anything. So as long as SK Telecom stays ahead, then, you know, whatever. A little bit uncharacteristic there by Faker. I feel like that was a misplay by him, mechanically. Doesn't really matter. But if we go back, though, so if we jump back to how this roam actually starts, this is interesting. So we can't actually see what's happening in mid lane. We see the shove out, and this is kind of unique, but it's a little bit bizarre because you know that Faker has no incentive to recall here because we can see his mana and we can see his HP. So when he moves off into the right, it's very bizarre why there's no spam pings downriver because they know that blue isn't coming up. They have the timer on it. So why is Faker going into that side of the jungle? It's also even more awkward that Ryze doesn't actually follow suit. This roam by Faker should never actually work. I think him having to... Yeah, that's just bizarre. Blank comes here anyway. This is stupid by Jensen and Meteos. This is actually just really fucking terrible. So as soon as Faker shows in bottom, the immediate response by Jensen and Meteos should have been to spam ping mid tower. Because at that point, Duke's going to be under way too much pressure to teleport mid. There's going to be no way for them to devote any attention to mid lane. There's no way for Faker to reliably get back up to mid lane and not risk actually getting killed by Olaf and Ryze, because he doesn't have any sort of mobility. He doesn't have the tier 2 hex core. They can collide this minion wave into the turret. They can even wait and collide the next minion wave into the turret and maybe threaten First Blood Tower, because I think Olaf has red right now. So there's the true damage to turrets. So overall, Cloud9, horrible fucking macro decision. Doesn't make any sense why they didn't have any sort of pings. This roam by SK Telecom is absolutely fucking atrocious. It should never happen. It should never work. This doesn't make any fucking sense. But it doesn't matter because Cloud9 don't know, like, what to do. This minion wave that's about to pass mid-tier 1, they should just literally be waiting. Like, this minion wave, the red minion wave right here, this should never even be alive. 2 undertows, Ryze, spell fluxes, just dead, and just walk it into the turret. And there's nothing that you can do. It's infinitely better than anything that they just did. So even if it's not like a super fucking huge victory or something for Cloud9, it's still going to be better than anything that they just chose to do. That was good by Cloud9. This is really, really good. They kill him. Minion Wave goes into turret. Minion Wave is good right now. Jensen's play there is a little bit suspect. With no intel on Lee Sin, you can't be doing stuff like that. I think if Blank was better, Jensen dies. Jesus Christ. Okay. What? No, Meteo, stop! What is wrong with you? Shove mid! Oh, heaven help me. Heaven fucking help. Oh, man. ONA. Oh, Cloud9, like, has the game won. Okay, so SK Telecom are retarded. In every, like, they're going aggressive for no reason, because the onus is on Cloud9 to make something happen. Again, because I talked about how they have the anti-scaling, and they have a tier 1 wake up, and the tier 1 wake up that I'm talking about is the Proto Belt on Kennen, which he's not even rushing as the first item. He's going double recipe, or double component, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So that stunts him. But right now, Cloud9 or SK Telecom, all they need to do is make it to like 20 minutes without falling behind. If they go even, if they go down by like 2k gold, that's a victory for SK Telecom, because that is not enough of a gold lead for Cloud9 to be able to initiate their 1-3-1, and it's also not nearly enough of a gold lead for Cloud9 to try to do any sort of bulldoze tactics. And in that scenario, Victor and Jin are just going to be way too strong, and the occasional poke that comes out of Duke is going to be too much to handle in the mid lane. So when you get these victories like this right here, I don't even know what the HP is on the top turret, and frankly, I don't really care what it is exactly. Obviously, it does affect what I would say to some degree. But no matter what, after all of this shit happens, if you just shove down mid lane turret, they have no real way to respond to this. And even if Duke does end up taking this tier 1 turret positionally, that would be advantageous to Cloud9. Because if the tier 1 top turret does end up going down relatively early, that actually plays into their tier 1 wake up. Now, the only problem with the tier 1 or the first item wake up is that the Cloud Dragon has already gone down. It doesn't matter what dragon it is, it could just be any dragon. But if mid is busted open, then that gives you a lot more incentive to apply a lot more pressure to top lane, because there's going to be a lot more darkness in the mid lane. So if you trade top tier 1 for mid tier 1 positionally, it is going to be advantageous to Cloud9's team composition because of how they can explode this stage of the game. due to, you know, lack of vision and stuff, and it would really attack SK Telecom's vision, because Zyra is not a champion that is very strong or effective at securing vision or like clearing it out. In a lot of ways, she's very similar to Soraka in that regard, where she's not as vulnerable as Soraka, obviously, but the speed at which she goes into places and, you know, clears out the vision, places vision, etc., is not really that effective. And because of the dynamic of Alistar and because of Olaf, she's basically tied up in bottom lane. So already, SK Telecom should get fucked in the ass, and they don't. So that's unfortunate. This is bad. Because bottom tier 1 doesn't matter. Losing top turret without taking mid tier 1 is really bad. Oh wow, that thing was full HP. Oh man, even more reason just to blow open mid tier 1. Oh, Cloud9. Oh, Cloud9. Never again do I want to hear someone say that this team is good at macro. Every single time there's an opportunity, this Worlds anyway, every single time there's been an opportunity to bust the game wide open, I've always just seen Meteos just do random shit. Makes absolutely no sense. Like, this is a situation you don't want to be in as Cloud9. Sure, you have a 1k gold lead. Sure, you have a Cloud Drake. But the clock is ticking, because you don't have enough of gold advantage to actually just start pulverizing into opponents using that Alistar and that Olaf. Your Kennen took a very weird, obscure build path. You can't go into a 1-3-1, because Jace is going to clap your Kennen. So it doesn't even matter. You also don't have the type of resources to initiate a 1-3-1 in the first place anyway, because Ryze can't go top lane at this stage of the game. He's not even going to be able to go top lane at 25 minutes into the game. So really, like, what are you doing? This is a dream scenario that is unintentionally happening for SKT. But it's mostly due to the fact that, you know, Cloud9 has dropped the ball constantly. And now this is happening. Okay, Meteos comes top lane to relieve. Clear out the pink. Okay. This is so strange. Like, I'm watching SK Telecom get away with stuff that they should not be able to get away with. And they get an Inferno Drake. Ooh, sorry. Like, there's so many situations where they can just say, like, okay, fuck you. Like, take that, you know? Like, just go ahead and have that. And then they can still get away. Oh, man. And they're also, they're doing these plays that are, they're like, they're not EV. Like, they don't produce a positive EV. If you don't know what EV is, you can Google it. EV poker term. Cloud9 is constantly doing negative EV plays. And a lot of them are done hoping that SK Telecom reacts poorly, or that something goes near perfect for Cloud9. Like, that's just weird. That's always going to happen. It doesn't matter how impact arrives. It doesn't matter, like, you know, you can obviously play a scenario and you're like, okay, well, I could just dodge that or do that. No. This is just fucking strange by SKT. And now the game's over. The fact, like, Cloud9 had the ability to bust the game wide open and assert so much pressure and dominance over SK Telecom and basically cripple them in the mid game from like 13 minutes onward, and they didn't take it. They also had another opportunity with Meteos at another stage where they didn't take it. And then they had the instance at the third blue buff where they botched again, another macro rotation. And it's not even like SK Telecom is playing well, because they're not either. They're just getting away with a lot of shit. But I don't feel like SKT can get away with this in like the semifinals or the finals if they continue to play this way, because I'm not impressed with Blank at all. I think that stylistically he did not understand his position in the game at certain points, and he was doing stuff that was very out of character relative to what he should have been doing, and I think that that's very problematic. I also think that a lot of SKT's advantages have not been through their own creation, but rather the falter of their opponents. This is just stupid as hell. There's literally zero reason to contest this Ocean Dragon. There's absolutely zero incentive. Okay, you lose. Like, what? So at this point, Victor's in mid. Blank shouldn't even go to Wolves. Blank should just go mid. Zyra should just go mid. Bang gets out of there. Surrender tier 1 mid. So this is going to be the play here, okay? So they take this. That's fine. Okay, so they take this turret. You take this turret. They don't have a teleport that they can devote. You then pressure this turret, ward them out of here. They take Water Dragon, or they go up to bottom tier 2. But if they go up to bottom tier 2, then they don't have the resources necessary to continue their assault onto bottom tier 3. And then if this happens, so if the map suddenly becomes, this is dead, this is dead, this is dead, this is dead, this is probably going to die to a rotation that SK Telecom can initiate, this is alive and nothing is here. What does Cloud9 do at this point? Because they don't have the resources to actually funnel into bottom. Also, there's no dragon, there's no incentive to be on this side of the map. They do not have enough of a commanding lead. In fact, they're really far behind right now, even though they have the Rise and the Ezreal scaling, because of the anti-scaling inside of Olaf, and because of the anti-scaling inside of their team composition not being very effective relative to their color. So if these two turrets are down, this is alive for SKT, this is alive for SKT. You can't devote resources to the bottom. You can't send Kennen bottom, because Jace is now going to go bottom, because your tier 1 is still alive and your tier 2 bottom is still alive. Now at this point in the game, SK Telecom wants to surrender the top tier 1 turret, because it's essentially a pawn that draws you out of position and forces you to overcommit resources, which will put you even further behind. The dragon doesn't even fucking matter. You can have that dragon every day of the week, because it doesn't do anything for you at this stage of the game. You're not in a commanding enough of a lead to actually get Baron. You can't secure any sort of vision control around SK Telecom's red side jungle that would enable you to get Baron, because you're facing against a Jhin and a Zyra, and there's no way that you're getting in flank teleport wards for that Kennen. You're going to lose all sort of pressure and vision surrounding the mid lane and surrounding both west and east side river. And you can't do anything, and SK Telecom's going to go to 3 items, 4 items, and they're just going to laugh at you inside of Jhin ultimates. So I don't know what the fuck they're doing right here, because as soon as you commit to bottom, SK Telecom, being fucking horrible macro that they're not doing it, because SK Telecom's fucking, I don't even know, they're boosted this game. But SK Telecom's immediate reaction should have been like, okay, have it. And then they all just go mid. They take this tower. They zone you out of coming into here because they deny vision around your wraiths, and they cut you off. They suffocate you inside of a straight. You can't respond to this. Kennen can't respond to this. If you try to go 4 top, then they're going to continue to blitz down, and this is always going to favor them, because any sort of trades which put SK Telecom in more condensed areas or in a smaller area to defend or turtle is going to be advantageous to their team comp against your team comp, also relative to color. So then what ends up happening here is that they might even get this tower, and then depending on how slow your reaction is as Cloud9 and how you choose to react to it in terms of like recall times, etc., they even have the ability to actually 4-man rotate up and possibly collapse on Kennen. That's very, very, very unlikely, and then get your top tier 2. But I think that that's very, very unlikely, because too many things would have to go perfect for SKT, and Cloud9 would have to react in a very, very specific way. But if they did do that, then they can do separately timed recalls to basically ensure that there's no sort of like cheese Baron attempt or cheese, whatever. And through that, Cloud9 would end up probably capturing tier 1 mid, unless Faker's the one that doesn't recall, and Faker does a complete wraparound and he goes mid because then he just uses his Death Ray to CS the wave. That could get a little bit dicey, but I don't think that it really gets too dicey given that Faker still has Flash. So at 25 minutes, Cloud9 loses the game. But we don't live in a perfect world, so that's probably not what's going to happen, because SK Telecom has done awful fucking decisions this entire game, but they've been rewarded for it, and Cloud9 has been incapable of wrapping a noose around SK Telecom's neck and just suffocating them out of the game, because, Cloud9 good macro, apparently. But yeah, so we have that. Hold on, let me go to the bathroom. BRB, I will be on Twitch chat, though. I can read your comments, but I have to go pee. Fuck. Shit. Alright. For I have returned for the king. Okay. Oh, shit. Alright. Alright. Okay, so we're actually seeing a variant of that rotation. Okay. SKT does not coordinate it as well as they could have. This is sort of the end result. So SK Telecom botches it a little bit. Duke went full clown for a second. This could have been a lot worse for Cloud9 had SK Telecom executed it better. There's literally zero incentive to either contest or defend this dragon. I don't understand what the thought process is. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. Both teams are just making horrible decisions all around. They're just making very bad decisions. I'm not impressed with SKT at all. At this point, it just looks like the Doom, the Doom situation that Cloud9's in, because their draft is very poor relative to color. Even if it wasn't color, it's just this is not a draft that you do proactively, because it just doesn't make any sort of. Did he try to teleport Meteos in Pantheon style? All right, well, okay. All right, well, I guess you just lose the game now at this point. I'd like to actually see who thought that Cloud9 would beat Samsung. Because with macro like this and map coordination like this, like you're not gonna beat Samsung. You're not gonna have any chance against them in the late game. I think late game wise, cookie cutter late game, Samsung's probably the best team at Worlds. And with an advantage, Rox is the best team at Worlds with late game. But like cookie cutter, like if both teams are even or if Samsung's behind, they're probably the best team at Worlds late game. But if a team has an advantage going into the late game, Rox is going to be the best. I just can't see a world in which Cloud9 beats Samsung. Because Meteos is not going to beat Ambition. Jensen's not going to beat Crown. I don't care what Skara said. Also, I think that Skara's opinions or claims about Crown is very interesting, because I would like to know how much he's actually watched Crown. Jensen was getting solo killed by Bjergsen a lot leading up to Worlds. I'm not saying that Jensen is bad by any means, but we're talking about Crown. And you can't just talk about his Victor and his Rise, because one of the comments that Skara made was specifically about Crown's Victor. Crown Syndra is a monster. I also think it's a little bit of a mind game that Samsung kept banning Syndra, because Syndra is one of Crown's best champions, and they kept banning it. I really think it's a little bit of a mind game. At this point, it's just like clown fiesting. Like, Cloud9 can never actually win like a head-on team fight with their team comp. They need to win through like trickery or like good flanks and stuff. But they've never been in a position where they've been able to get off any sort of those wards to get said flanks. So it's all on SK Telecom, like really botching their positioning or something. Very, very interesting. They have like almost no forward wards. It's a good clear by Sneaky. Ah. So even though the gold is like 6k right now, the lead is a lot bigger because of the anti-scaling, because of that atrocious, disgusting abomination of a champion. So terrible. Such a trash champ, holy shit. Such a bad champion, oh my god. This is good, but it doesn't matter, because you have no way reliably to get into the backline without just suiciding. Unless you had a gold advantage. You can use, I guess, Rise shenanigan stuff, but that's not really going to matter either. Although they are out positioning SK Telecom right now. And then they both concede position, which doesn't make any sense. I actually did not see this game, by the way, live. So I am watching it for the first time right now. I was very, very sick on this day. I think build order-wise, everyone's pretty on point. Olaf's just a bad champion. He's like something that, like, alright, so imagine, like, let me pause for a second. Imagine you play Magic the Gathering, okay? Olaf is a champion that you would draft, okay? Olaf would be very, very good in draft, but he would have no business in competitive. Olaf would be like a 3 for like a, you know, like a 3 for a 3/3 haste or something. Like, that's Olaf. Like, he's like, you know, 1 colorless, 2 red, 3 for a 3/3 haste. Like, that's Olaf. You know, or like 4 for a 3/3 haste. Like, that's what Olaf is. Like, he's good in draft, but he's not good outside of it. Yu-Gi-Oh terms? Sure. So imagine Yu-Gi-Oh, you like opened up like 5 packs and you had to make a deck, and you got a Gemini Elf. Or you got that, what is that? That dragon. 2000 attack, no effect, 4-star. Like, that's what Olaf is. Olaf is like Gemini Elf. Does anyone remember Gemini Elf? That's what Olaf is. Olaf is Gemini Elf. Or whatever the fuck the name of that dragon was. 2000 attack, 4 stars. No effect. Alexandrite dragon? Is that it? Yeah. Okay, yeah, Alexandrite dragon. This is Olaf. Or like Gemini Elf. Yeah, this is Olaf. There's another one too. There's a 2000 attack. Oh, Luster Dragon. Luster Dragon too. Luster Dragon, that was the one when I played, I think. This is the blue one, right? No. This dragon's terrible. What? Oh. Wait, what? Luster Dragon. Number 2. Luster Dragon. Yeah, Luster Dragon. Okay. But there's another one. There's one that's like 2000. There's another minion or creature. It's 2000. It's not Spear Dragon. No, not Spear Dragon. Cursive Dragon? Gene Warped Werewolf. Maybe that was it. Gene Warped Werewolf. Warwolf? Is this it? Oh, this might be it. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Yeah, it's him. Gene Warped Werewolf. Okay. Yeah. So, this is Olaf. Like, literally, this... Oh, Vorpal? Is that... Vorse Raider. See? Yeah, Vorse Raider too. 1900. Like, this is Olaf. This is literally Olaf. Like, there's nothing else to say. This is Olaf. You want me to speak in Hearthstone terms to what Olaf is? Okay, hold on. This is Olaf. It's really good in Arena. You know, that's not bad in Arena. Or like here. If you get it early on. Oop, shit, I almost dropped my phone. This is Olaf too. I got a fucking Nerubian profit for you. Any team that picks Olaf is fucking boosted And yes, Samsung Galaxy, when they picked it, they're lucky that they had Victor. Let me tell you what. It's actually really bad by SKT. Ooh. This is really bad by SKT. Somehow they managed to go 2 for 2. I like the fact that Faker goes Death Cap because he wants to be playing long range. The Lichbane proc isn't nearly as effective when you consider that he has to basically be on top of some of those champions, and that's not what he wants to do. If Ryze wasn't in the game, if it was a different mid laner or something, I could see Lichbane or something. That was one of the worst teleports by Duke I've ever seen. Holy shit. Okay. Like, I just don't get what both teams are doing. It just doesn't make any sense. W blindly. Oh, okay. Alright, they lose. The game's over, right? Let me just skip ahead. There's really nothing to watch. Both teams are playing very poorly right now, macro-wise. I think that at this point, SK Telecom acknowledges that they should not lose team fights unless they get really caught out of position. But Cloud9's not trying to do any smoke and mirrors to try to crawl their way back into the game. They basically need to entice SK Telecom to advance up too far, too quickly, and through that, they can inadvertently get proper flank teleport wards. Yeah, okay, nice smooth out. That was really good. Yeah, that was really good, and by really good, I mean really bad. Just want to point that out. Nice champ, by the way. Yeah, that's a really good champion. Good. I'm really glad. You know, my favorite part is when he runs forward and then he dies. It's my favorite part. It's like Olaf without ultimate is like he has polio and he didn't get vaccinated. Olaf's like an anti-vaxxer. Oh man. Oh, SKT, you macro so bad too. Oh, fuck. They picked the comp to spell out Korea. Yeah, I really like that champ. Nice. Olaf, you did a lot there. You did a lot. I think you ran around, you threw an axe. You did a lot. Nice. Good champ. Good champ, Olaf. You certainly did a lot there. Nice. Excellent. Excellent pick. Excellent pick. Very quality. When a jungler like Blank thinks that it might be a good champion, I think that says enough about if the champion's bad. Nice. Excellent pick. Excellent pick. Really appreciate it. Really hope to see more of it this Worlds. Worst fucking champion in the entire tournament that's being picked.